Bros and heroes. Gonna tell you about bros and heroes. Gonna tell you about
comic books, costumes,
Facts, boots.
and other stuff.
In this week's issue, Strange Tales from the Crypt.
Welcome into Bros, Foes, and Heroes. I'm Zach, joined as always by Man Wonder, Mr. Mike.
Hello.
I decided that I wasn't going to just go through all the M's.
I love I love the time it takes to start. Like, I just love that. Like, you go into like a trance almost.
Well, I'm just kind of like
I
getting
know.
ready.
I get it. We've talked about this, but I just love that. I like the fact that you prepare mentally.
I feel like it always makes you chuckle though too.
Well, it
when I do
does, but I'm just like, I don't know. It's almost like being in a family photo. I don't know what to do with my hands.
No, I get
kind
it.
of
I
thing,
get
you
it.
know?
No, I totally get
that's
it.
all it is.
I
It's
just
like if somebody started a prayer right here,
and you're just like,
I'd be like, oh,
and then
that's
you
what
just,
we're doing.
Quickly
Yeah.
bow your, yeah. No, I get what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I've
I
always
love it,
kind of
though.
done it to.
I think it's fantastic.
Just kind of gets me in the mood.
Yeah.
The mood today. I guess the day that this podcast comes out.
Yes, sir.
Is Halloween. So
Ooh.
happy Halloween if you're listening on
Spooky
Monday.
dooky. Yep.
If you're listening on Tuesday, happy November.
Happy. Well, it's Dia de los Muertos.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
true.
For
So-
like, I think it's October 31st through November 2nd or something like
Oh,
that.
sure. So then, yeah, happy Dia de los Muertos.
Muertos.
So,
Yeah.
and hopefully everybody enjoyed their Halloween. But
Sure.
I
There's
thought,
sugar skulls.
That's true. I thought that it would make sense to do a horror story in a way, but what I wanted to do was focus on something, a little bit older.
Are you saying that the other ones haven't been a horror? Is that
Some of them have been horrors just
some
because
of them have been a few horrors.
have been
yeah.
horror stories just because of how bad they are.
Sure.
The one that we did last week with Stray Dogs was just more of a thriller.
That was a good one.
It was really good.
I had to leave in the middle.
You did, but that's okay.
It
Rusty
was
filled in
so
for you.
weird.
Well, that we did it perfectly
I
of
love
where,
it. Yes.
yeah, commercial break, new co-host. So
That's how I feel like I'm gonna go out at
just
some point.
we replaced you during
commercial
a
break.
commercial
Oh, he's dead. That's how his life ended.
Oh man.
Manscaped.
We can do like a 21 trimmer salute. Just
21 trimmer salute. That's lovely.
So what we're doing for Halloween.
He fell like the frozen pubes on the. I don't know. I hear the guy talking about like the frozen tundra.
Yeah. The NFL Films guy.
Yeah.
So we are going to focus on actually Tales from the Crypt.
Ah.
I think most people probably think of the, I believe it was 1989 when it started, the HBO series with that, weird little crypt keeper guy and all the stories. A lot of the stories in those, in the TV show were taken from previous comic stories too, and things like that. Or new, but the namesake is the same as well.
Sure.
Also, there was a movie made in 1972. Can't tell you much about that. I do know they did make a Tales from the Crypt cartoon.
Wait, there was a Tales from the Crypt movie made in 72?
Yeah, I've never seen it. I just know about it. But they did make a Tales from the Crypt cartoon.
Yeah.
That I've seen before.
Cartoon.
Yeah.
Seems like that would be a kid's thing.
Yeah, no, that for sure. And then there was also even a kids game show.
Oh.
Which was like the Crypt Keeper's Haunted House or something like that. So there was a while that.
Were there any video games?
Yeah, there were.
Were there? Like Tales from the Crypt video games?
I think so. I'm gonna double check this. I think there were.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you a question real quick. I think I'm right. Well, I know I am because I just looked it up. But William Gaines.
Yes.
That's the guy I was talking about earlier.
Yes.
He started Mad Magazine.
He did.
He also started Tales from the Crypt.
He did. Well, he was essentially, I believe it was his father. Yeah, there is a Tales from the Crypt video game.
Wow.
There's also pinball machines too.
Oh.
I want to see
if I can pinball machines, right?
Images. Yeah,
because like
pinball machines
Kiss,
make sense.
The Kiss pinball machine and all that. I was not even a big Kiss fan, but I would love to have a Kiss pinball machine.
Here you go. Sega's. This can't be real, right?
Right. Yeah, it's real.
No, it's not.
Sure it is. I don't even know what you're talking about, but
fake.
it's real.
It looks fake.
Oh, Sega CD.
But it
does
so
look
fake.
a little fake. Fright Simulator. Wow. I hope that's real.
I don't think it is. Oh, they also had, do you remember these little things? The little handheld games. There was a
it,
handheld, like what were they? Tyco games.
Yeah. This was after the football game. It was a little better because the screen was, but it's still black and white screen.
Oh yeah. So no, they had everything Tales from the Crypt. But you're right with William Gaines.
William Gaines.
William Gaines is going to come up a little bit too.
Okay.
I think the cool thing, actually, before we get into the story, let me talk a little background about this because, it seems like obviously when people that got into comics usually were kids. We're talking about like when Superman, Batman, all that first came out.
Sure.
The early public domain stuff we've covered, I think the earliest we've gone is 39. There's stuff before that.
Really?
But I think technically the Yellow Kid is considered to be the first. Like
the Yellow Kid.
He was called that because he wore a yellow T-shirt.
Good naming.
Yeah. But like this was like in the 1880s.
Somebody's like,
and it was just
Kid?
a strip of where like his shirt would say different things, like political reference or stuff like that.
Yeah.
So they've been around for a while.
That's the way they did a lot of political cartoons. Yeah. They still do, I guess, really.
In a way, yeah. So that was like the first, but then
seems cheap.
Oh, for
doesn't
sure.
it?
Just to write something instead
just to write something on somebody's shirt.
Yeah. There's a little bit better way,
anyway,
more creative,
okay.
I guess you could. But so in the 30s and then the 40s, so obviously you have to think that it's kids and even like teenagers that get into them, and then these kids and teenagers are kind of sent off to war, and they kind of grow up a bit. And so when they come back, they still are used to like, hey, I grew up reading comics.
Yeah, sure.
But they want something that might be of a more adult.
A little more adult.
Exactly.
Sure. Yeah.
So comic companies would produce like crime stories.
Well, and the thing is, your audience grew up almost overnight.
That's true too.
Yeah.
Because of World War
Because of the war, yeah.
So
the big one.
You see a change in like, instead of just being all superhero comics, you have like romance comics, you have detective comics, crime comics, and horror comics, just different subject material.
It was probably a little bit of a shotgun approach.
Yeah.
Where they had to like, okay, let's see what they will read or whatever. Yeah.
And like to even tell you, like Tales from the Crypt, this is the first issue, but if you'll notice, it's numbered 20 because they ran through a couple different, I think they had like International Comics at first, and then it became Crime Patrol Comics, and then it was like Tales from the Vault, and then it became Tales from the Crypt by 20.
I like how it's Strange Tales from the Crypt, which I'm assuming they just dropped Strange at some point.
Just to kind of sell it there.
Yeah.
But what happens with this, and you can kind of see the star over here.
Yeah.
It's very different than from later comics because this is just, it says it confirms to the comic code. And at this time, essentially comics were starting to get in around the early 50s. Backlash in a sense because people thought that, it's not good for kids' brains. It's ruining them. The subject matter that's there, it's causing them to go crazy.
Right.
Just like any time whenever one generation doesn't understand the younger generation, there has to be something wrong with them. It was comic books there in the 50s.
Starts with T, stands for T.
It's Trouble City.
Right here in River City.
Yeah, I actually know that reference now, though.
Yeah.
So with the pushback, the comics themselves at first tried to police themselves, and they create like a set of guidelines that they were able to
I'm sure
follow.
that went well.
Oh, well, that's what we're getting to. And like you can see, like, look for the seal.
There's
and they
an
talk
actual
about
seal.
There's an actual seal. It was funny because I've never seen one of these.
Yeah.
So that was really cool to read. But
oh wow, look at that.
And they explain essentially like what all they do, and they have their board of directors here.
So is this them trying to get out in front of something that they figured was going to happen to them anyway?
Yes, they thought that with the cry from parents that, so they thought they could take care of it themselves.
This is almost like the parental notice that we have on CDs. And
the
stuff
parental
now.
advisory.
Yeah.
You'll notice if you look later, there is a different Comics Code sticker because eventually there was a Comics Code pass where they were able to police themselves anymore.
Yeah.
And we're going to get to that before I get into the story because I think it's a very interesting part. Part of the board of directors, though, was, as you brought up, William Gaines.
And the seal.
And the seal. No, Lev Gleason was the president who had Lev Gleason Publishing.
Okay.
Harold Moore from Famous Funnies. Like, it's all these different publishers. And William Gaines at Educational Comics is one of them too. That's so what weird. The EC started for, was educational comics. Eventually, when they started printing off more things like this, they changed it to entertaining comics.
Gotcha.
But
there's not a lot of education going on in Tales from the Crypt.
No, they're entertaining now.
Right.
But what would happen is there was an increase in popularity of different horror comics.
Sure.
In different comics that showed more violence, maybe dealt with things that parents didn't like. And
well, this is also when you got into the sci-fi comics and all that kind of stuff.
A lot of stuff.
Too. Yeah,
so
sure.
It eventually leads to a Senate hearing in 1954 of where the Dr. Wortham,
government always has to get involved.
Dr. Wortham, who did a lot of great work before, kind of goes, and this is just my opinion, kind of goes and paints a very broad brush on comics.
Sure.
He tells a story about
Tipper. Just like Tipper.
Dr. Wortham tells a story about I'm trying to remember. That some kid, some 14-year-old had held up a store and ended up killing people. And when the police got there and the kid told them, what was it? You want to know what caused it? It's these wretched, dirty comics. It's a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah, sure.
But
scapegoat.
When the hearing was made, William Gaines said to himself, because there was nobody that was going to speak up for comics. Right. They were just going to hear from the doctor. And he thought, well, that's not fair. I need to go ahead and I will speak for comics as a whole. And William Gaines has a very great opening line that I think is fantastic that I'll play for us here in a second. But, well, actually, let me start with that before I tell you how it kind of goes downhill after this. So he is able to open up and give his his opening remarks to the Senate committee there.
Sure.
And I think that his quote is just so great, basically about, we're having this meeting for, what comics do to our kids.
Yeah.
But why do we worry so much about that? I'll go ahead and play his intro here.
Afraid of our own children? Do we forget that they are citizens too and entitled to the essential freedom to read? Or do we think our children so evil, so vicious, so simple-minded that it takes but a comic magazine story of murder to set them to murder, of robbery to set them to robbery? We're afraid of our...
He's got a point.
It's a fantastic point.
It's really good.
And so it's are we afraid of our own kids that you think a comic book, are they evil enough that a comic book is going to send them down?
Are they so simple-minded?
Exactly. And it's a great argument.
Yeah, it really
is. The problem for William Gaines.
Yeah.
He had stayed up super late the night before practicing and practicing and practicing his testimony. Yeah. And I've heard other things is either strong painkillers or diet pills or something to keep him up. So by the end, he was supposed to go in the morning too.
Black Molly's.
He was supposed to testify in the morning, but they pushed it back. So instead, he went to the afternoon. And it kind of caught up with him after that great opening line. Of course, I can't find it here now. That great opening line, there comes these comments then. One is, so the chief counsel was Herbert Basir, I guess. And then also, I'm going to read a line from Senator Estes Kiefer. Doesn't matter. So the first guy asked him, asked Gaines, is it the sole test of what you would put into your magazine, whether it sells? Is there a limit you can think of that you would not put in a magazine because you thought a child should not see or read about it?
Right.
Gaines' response is, no, I wouldn't say that there are any limits for the reasons you outlined. My only limits are the bounds of good taste and what I consider good taste.
Yeah.
The
fair answer.
Exactly. The counselor says, then you think a child cannot in any way, shape, or manner be hurt by anything that a child reads or sees. To which he replies, I don't believe so. The counselor says, there would be no limit actually to what you put in your magazine. And he replies, only within the boards of good taste.
Yeah.
The counselor replies, your own good taste and sellability? And he says, yes. I give this story because it sets up the next one. And this testimony is what many consider to be what sank the comic industry and created the comics code because of this at the time. The senator says, and I'll go ahead and show you the cover, Mike. If you want to listen along, I'm sure you can find it by searching. It's the cover of Crime Suspense Stories. Excuse me, Crime Suspense Stories.
Suspense Stories.
Number 22.
Okay.
And I will show you the cover there.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Yeah, the lady's head's been chopped off.
Yep. So the senator.
But to the matter of good taste, the blood is black.
Here it is. So the senator says, here's your May 22nd issue, Crime Suspense Stories number 22. Yeah. This seems to be a man with a bloody axe holding a woman's head up, which we can see has been severed from her body. Do you think this is in good taste? And Gaines replies, yes, sir, I do, for the cover of a comic magazine.
Yeah.
A cover is in bad taste, for example, might be defined as holding the head a little higher so that you could see the neck and it could be dripping blood from it, or moving the body over a little further so that the neck of the body could be seen to be bloody.
Well, he does kind of have a point
The
there.
senator says, you have blood coming out of her mouth. And he goes, a little. He goes, there's blood on the axe. I think most adults are shocked by that.
Yeah.
So the line is basically, do you think that's in good taste? Yes, I do.
Yeah.
For a horror comic is essentially what causes outrage.
I can see that.
It eventually then creates the comic code that everybody has to do. And it's because of that, in the ruling, he decides, William Gaines, I'm not going to be able, if they're telling me what I can and can't print, I'm not going to do that just because, you know, so he cancels Tales from the Crypt. He cancels the crime stories. Everything at EC, he basically cancels. And then he goes and he turns Mad Magazine, instead of a comic, into a magazine. Yeah. Because he had less things and less hurdles to be able to jump over.
Gotcha.
And he could still be able to put out the product where he could without feeling censored.
Because it's not under the comic code.
No.
Yeah, because it's a magazine.
So these Tales from the Crypt comics are directly related to the comics code being created. And so I thought that was just a cool little history tidbit.
Very interesting, to
throw in. Yeah. And now, Mike, it's a very short, it's only like a 36-page issue. We have four short stories.
The thing I love about this is the Crypt Keeper.
He's not an old man.
He's not old.
He's an actual person.
This is what he looked like before he turned into a skeleton.
That's true.
I'm assuming.
Yeah, I think. And then he dies. But 10 cents for the first one. Yeah. But what I was going to say is before we go ahead and break off into these four little short stories of Halloween delight, let's go ahead and take a quick little break. And we'll be back
do it
right after this. We are back now.
Hang on just a second. Okay, now I'm ready.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm just kidding.
You didn't close your eyes. I didn't know what you were doing.
That's true. That's right.
So we will dive into Tales from the Crypt. I will tell you, Mike, all these stories are... It's funny to think of, obviously, us talking about the comic code and how risque and stuff it is. Some of these stories are just kind of ridiculous, but it fits with our show.
Right.
I'll just tell you as we go through, and you can just flip through
this kind of stuff, man.
Yeah, no, the old like creepy stuff in horror comics, the way it's drawn.
Good. Yeah.
Our first story. So we have four stories, and they're all kind of set up by the Crypt Keeper in a sense of where he just introduces each story.
He didn't have to do the 13 like this.
No,
you know
but
what
it's
I'm saying?
cool, right?
But it's just such an added detail.
And
it's
the
so
giant
good.
hand out of the...
Yeah, it's just so good. So you've got a big steamship with a big creepy hand coming up out of the sea with moss and stuff hanging off of it, like it's going to grab the boat. You got the number 13 and a big shadow on the shore, and then you got the Crypt Keeper up here in a little balloon saying... His thing from the sea. Yeah.
So our first story is the thing from the sea. We find out that it has to deal with Stateroom 13.
Stateroom 13. Yeah.
So here's something else that I found very strange. I have not seen this in a comic before.
Yeah.
But there's not a character name. It says you are.
Oh, yeah.
It tells the story as you.
Oh,
even though it tells you what you look like the whole time.
Yeah, but that's cool.
It is cool.
Yeah.
So essentially the story is you're trying to make passage on this ship.
Yeah.
But the only room available is Stateroom 13. You're like, that's fine.
Sure.
I just need to make it. You buy the ticket. They let you on board. And as the guy walks you to your room and you tell him, oh, I'm in Stateroom 13.
Yeah.
He kind of gets a little freaked out a bit. And you ask him, hey, what's up? And he's like, oh, it's just no passenger that stays in that room has ever made it all the way through like the trip. Like something happens. And you kind of blow him off, and you're like, it's no big deal.
Wait, is this me?
Yeah, that's you.
I'm the guy in the trench coat.
Yeah, you're the guy in the trench coat.
Fantastic.
So you go into your stateroom, and you see that you have a bunkmate that's also staying there with you.
Right.
Both of you. He's like, hey, did they tell you it was haunted? You're like, yeah, they did. I'm like, I don't think it is.
It's kind of set up like a tour bus with the bunk beds and all that stuff. Yeah.
Sure. They call them berths, I think.
Really?
hold on, what was it? Like there was a lot of weird names and things. I have to just be like, oh yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, that's cool.
Where's this out? We had a porthole, but we'll get to the porthole. Where in the world? What were these called?
Always ends with a porthole.
I don't know.
That's okay. That's all right.
Whatever.
Bunk beds.
You stow your belongings. Yeah, okay. So they're bunk beds.
Bunkety bunk beds.
You fall asleep.
I do.
You wake up and realize that the porthole that had been bolted shut is open.
Hey, my porthole.
And you're like, what in the world? So you go over there and you close it because it's kind of cold.
Yeah.
And when you do, you hear an like a scream.
Yeah.
And your bunkmate takes off running. And he's like, no, don't let him get me. Don't let him get me. And he just storms out and leaves.
Whoa.
Well, you're like, okay, what's up with that guy? I don't know. I'm going back to sleep. Whoa. Next morning, you wake up.
Yeah.
You go out on the deck, just kind of read and enjoying your day. And
Put on my morning suit.
Yeah, your morning suit, which is green apparently.
Yeah.
And
That's
you
green
run
in the morning,
into
red in the afternoon, blue at night. Everybody knows that.
Yeah, you run into one of the, I guess, sea crew, one of the boat's crews,
sea crew,
and you ask them about your roommate. Like, hey, and they're like, he's in the infirmary.
He looks like a captain. He looks like a port mate. Whatever they call him.
They tell you that he's in the infirmary, that he's just kind of babbling to himself.
The
and
infirmary.
Kind of crazy. Like,
yeah. I just love the term.
Oh, okay.
That they have an infirmary on
Isn't that like the hospital
on
there?
The ship. Yeah.
Right,
yeah.
Okay.
No, I just love it.
So, and you're like, oh, okay, that's strange. Maybe I don't think this stateroom thing is
birth.
Birth.
Right
okay, there you go.
It is birth. Find it. Yeah.
So you're like, I don't know what his deal is. Like, it couldn't be anything. Well, you get ready to go to bed. You make sure that your porthole is. I didn't realize how that sounds. You make sure that the porthole in your room is closed, bolted shut before you go to sleep.
Make sure your porthole is closed.
You wake up again with it open, and like the smell of salt water hitting you in the face.
Don't let anybody open your porthole without your consent.
And you hear a noise coming from the top bunk, and you're like, is my roommate back?
Yeah.
And you pull it back to see this weird, ghastly looking creature.
No.
It's just like string kind
of,
I don't know.
String person.
Yeah. And so you like follow him.
This is feeling a little Scooby-Doo-ish.
It is kind of. Well, you follow him up to the top, and he just jumps off the ship back into the water.
It's almost like a ghillie suit.
It does. It looks exactly like a ghillie suit. So then you don't want to go back to your room, so you just find a deck chair, and you sleep out in the deck chair that night.
Okay.
Well, the captain comes along, and you're like, hey, I saw something. It looked weird, but I think it's just some weird guest like trying to mess with people.
Right, sure.
Like a Scooby-Doo, like you thought.
Right.
And the captain's like, yeah, some of these people just take these things too far. I'll go ahead and I'll stay in your room with you tonight. We can go ahead and catch this weirdo kind of thing. So.
That's an odd move, but okay.
So the porthole, they're both waiting in there, and the porthole busts open while they're awake.
Watch out.
And so you go over to close it, and you're like, I don't know what did that. And about that time, you hear the captain just shriek again. Eek. And he is met face to face with the ghillie suit monster.
Yeah.
And he says, or you say, that's it. Let's get him, Captain. Like, let's go ahead. Mm-hmm. And the captain replies, no, I can't. Or it can't be. You're dead. I murdered you.
Oh.
Right? And then he just says, I killed you right there in that berth. I guess in the top bunk, he murdered this guy, pushed you out the porthole into the sea. You can't.
Wow, good job, Captain, giving up your whole whole thing there.
And then all of a sudden, the captain just dies of fright, and the ghillie suit.
Wait, you can't just say that.
Yeah, he just dies of fright.
The captain just dies of fright.
Horrified, you watch the captain slump to the floor, wide as shock. Then satisfied, the thing turns and hurls itself out of the porthole.
Oh my God!
And you're like. And then, like, you look, the captain's dead, and you look back, the porthole is closed. And the crypt keeper just says, hey, and that's the story, dear reader. The captain received the shock of his life. He still talked that same way.
Wait, that's it?
Yeah.
That's the whole story?
That's the whole story.
So
there's more.
Creepy string monster scares the captain to death, jumps out the porthole, story's over.
We don't know.
We don't know if we live.
Yeah, we don't know. We also don't know like who the man was, why he murdered him, any of that. That's the story.
That's crazy.
Yep. They also had short stories in here.
That's a dumbass story. Just saying.
Just wait.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah. A bunch of words.
I didn't read all of that.
No, you shouldn't.
So we'll get to our second one, which is called The Fatal Caper.
Reading's bad for your eyes, kids.
It is. I should also there was something else I was going to add about these comics, and I completely forgot what it was.
That's all right.
I believe that
Porthole
Image now it's either Image or Dark Horse. I could be wrong. One of them owns the tells like the EC Comics catalog.
Oh, really?
So they're able to reprint some of these. So if you would actually, if you are a fan, like even the stories are bad, it's still just cool to read some of the old horror stuff.
It's cool looking. It's very vintage.
So I was just going to say, if you actually wanted to look at that, there are like reprints and stuff through, I believe, Image. But the next story, A Fatal Caper. I love this one because it starts off, you're not in any more of these stories. We have names for our characters from here on.
What a relief.
We meet Marilyn, who...
What is this thing that's holding her? It looks like a werewolf, kind of. Looks like a man bat.
Just wait. You'll have to find out.
Okay. Well, scary monster holding girl.
Somehow.
Kind of 50s horror movie pose. Yeah.
So Marilyn finds a book of magic, right?
Hey,
and then
here's a book of magic.
Her friend says, please do not try any of the spells in it. Or no, that the worker says that. So
wait, where are they?
They're at the library.
Oh, sure.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, a dusty old bookstore.
Okay, dusty old bookstore.
So then Marilyn and her friend Peter, they're like, hey, Peter, do you see this? Isn't it just too ducky? I didn't know what that meant.
Oh, wow. Ducky. Really?
Yeah. What does ducky mean?
It's cool. Like, yeah, cute, cool. Yeah.
Really?
Sure.
I never heard that before.
Ducky.
And so she says, call up Jim.
We need to bring that back.
Ducky?
Yeah, just say, oh, that's so ducky.
It could probably make a resurgence.
Oh, I love that.
Dude, yeah, let's do that.
Ducky.
So Marilyn says,
call up. Say that to my wife tonight. She's going to throw something at me.
Call up Jim and Winnie and invite them over. Yeah. And we're going to have a good old seance, right?
Sure. Why not?
We're going to try these things out. I love how everybody shows up and like.
They all have a gift.
Yeah, they all have packages. Like Jim says.
He looks like he's got wrapped meat.
Well, he says, where do you ever dream up all this, Marilyn? Toad's tongues, a lapwing's ear, the foot of a day-old bat?
These dudes brought all that stuff?
Yes.
Like at a moment's notice.
Yes.
You just call up your buddies.
Yes.
Hey, could you bring a bat's wing?
So
and a toad's tongue?
I'm not going to get like super deep into this because...
Dude, they get into this seance really quick.
They do.
Like they've got a cauldron.
Yeah. Like none of this is explained either.
What the?
So they have a cauldron. They're throwing everything in. And then all of a sudden...
Marilyn, don't.
Like all of a sudden like a big cloud bubble and they hear like another scream.
Yeah,
and
that's
Marilyn's
what happens
gone.
when you throw shit in a cauldron. That's what
right. So then they go look for her and they can't. And they come back and go, look, Marilyn's shoe and stocking. Like, we got to figure out what to do. Let's call the police. And when he's like, no, listen. So we can just find something in the book.
Marilyn's gone. Her stocking and shoe is left.
Yeah.
And their solution is, let's look in the book again.
One guy wanted to call the cops, and the other two are like, no, let's just look in the book.
Okay.
They find another spell to do, and then they hear, Peter, please come to me, from when Marilyn's voice.
Oh, no.
So Peter goes and looks, and all of a sudden, and he's gone now. So
just
now
it's stocking in a shoe where he was.
Now it's just Winnie and Jim.
Oh, no. Let's look in the book again.
Right? Yeah, that's what happens.
Oh, no.
It does.
What a bad decision.
They look around. They can't do anything. Jim's like, we're going to call the cops. And when he's like, no.
By the way, I love this coloring. Like,
it's great.
In one scene, they're both solid red, then green, then orange. It's gorgeous.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then so I come at your call, Enchantress. When this last one they call, and this thing comes up, and it it goes to take whatever this thing is, goes to take Winnie, and in the process smacks Jim.
So is that Jim or Peter?
That's Jim.
Okay,
right? Or is that Peter?
Damn it!
Dang it! Now
gonna get to say it smacked her right in the Peter.
Yeah, no, that's Jim.
Damn it. Okay.
So he smacks him right in the gym. It says panting, sobbing, his world reeling around him. Jim Roberts, because it's time to throw in a last name.
Sure.
Stares at the gigantic thing that their spells have summoned up.
So it's just a thing.
Yep.
It's not a
sheer horror in his eyes. It got her. It got her. And so he's like, I got to reach the phone to call the police. And about that time, the monster.
Now it's time to call the cops.
The monster knocks the phone out of his hand.
Yeah.
We're then shown as the monster picks his thing up.
The hulking Goliath.
Yeah. And it says Jim opens his eyes to find himself reclining in a coffin.
Oh, no.
Just as the gloating monster is shutting the heavy lid down on him. He's like, no, don't. Yeah, and with a thud, the coffin closed. And he's like, he's hammering me in.
Wait.
I can hear it hammering, hitting the nails. Suffocating here, getting harder to breathe.
Oh, poor Jim.
Oh, well, just look. It's his three buddies.
Wait, they put him in a coffin?
They put him in a coffin, and they were the ones doing all the things happening. They say, all right,
Who's
Pete.
the monster?
Well, when he says, all right, Pete, the joke's gone far enough. He looked half dead on fear when you closed him in that coffin. Let's open him back up. And Jim says, sure, right away. Boy, was he ever scared. Or Peter says that.
Yeah.
And Marilyn replies, Jim sure fell for all that mumbo jumbo. Well, they can't get it unstuck.
You know, like us smacking him in the face and throwing him in a coffin.
They can't get it unstuck.
Of course they
hammering
can.
it closed. So they're going to go to the car to get tools. While they go get tools, a man comes in, the gravekeeper, and says, you're next, mister. And you can rest assured I'm going to bury you deep. In all words.
Why?
So,
what's he got against this coffin?
So they get the tools and they come back and the coffin's gone.
Uh-oh.
And they're looking around everywhere for it. And it says half an hour later, caretaker, did you just bury a coffin? Dig it up. You have to dig it up. The man in there isn't dead. And then what Marilyn says is what he means is a joke. You know, you've got to open that coffin. Like,
yeah,
you know.
Sure.
And the caretaker says, I want that open that coffin for all the gold in Fort Knox. I buried him plenty deep. That man died from leprosy. Anyone who touches the corpse will get it. And then it ends with all the other three looking at their hands and a little green spot showing up. So that's the end of that.
What?
Their friend got buried alive and they got leprosy.
Where's the monster?
Oh, it was just a costume he was wearing.
Oh, damn it, Jim. Get out of that costume. Pete.
So yeah, they buried Jim alive and the other three got leprosy. That's that story.
They got leprosy.
Yeah. I looked it up just to see.
Oh my God. How weird.
The cure, leprosy became less of a thing in like the 60s. So.
Yeah. Wait, 60s?
Yeah.
Oh no. Didn't they have like islands they would send people to?
I think back in the day, yeah.
Wow.
So this now takes us to RX Death as our next story.
Death. Yeah.
And so essentially we have a story here about a woman named, what is this woman's name?
I love any story that starts with the words, good Lord.
Yeah. Janet. Our main character in this story is Janet.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, also I'm sorry, before I get to that, they had like a little newsletter that was the Crypt Keeper's Corner.
Oh, sweet.
And so it had like, tell me these don't seem like kind of fake letters though, because I have like letters to them. And it says, Dear Crypt Keeper, I want you to know that every time a Crypt of Terror is put on sale at my candy store, I will buy it and will haunt you. You don't scare me. And it says A.Ghost, no address given. And then
A.Ghost.
Yeah. And then it replies, he has a reply to it. So haunt me, ghost. I dare you. Only you better not show up around the crypt. I might scare the sheet off you.
Oh, no.
Go dissolve your ectoplasm in a vat of sulfuric acid.
Boy, if I had $1 for every time I insulted somebody by saying something like that.
Dear Crypt Keeper, the magazine leaves me cold. Signed, the occupant of Slab 13, City Morgue Refrigerator, Dodge City, Kansas. To which he replies,
Wait, why do you have to add Dodge City, Kansas? I mean, it's
know. To which the
so
Crypt Keeper says, why don't you give yourself a hot foot with a ectoline torch? Yeah.
Ectoline torch?
Wait, I'm sorry.
Acetylene.
Thank you. Acetylene torch.
But even... Give yourself a hot foot with an acetylene torch, would you, Zach?
Then the Crypt Keeper has a library section. A further listing of my favorite fine mystery literature, which you can obtain at your local library. They include such great stories as Boris Karloff and The Darkness Falls.
Okay.
Or H.P. Lovecraft's Lurker at the Threshold.
Okay.
Or Bram Stoker's The Mystery of the Sea.
All right. Well,
I just
good
thought
for
that
you,
was
Crypt
kind of...
Keeper.
Yeah.
Keeping the kids reading.
I didn't read the actual ones. There's one here too that says, Dear Crypt Keeper. I just want to read the first line.
Sure.
I hate to admit this, you old geezer, but your magazine is the very best horror terror book I've ever read.
Terror.
Barring none, yeah. You old geezer.
Signed.
That was signed
A. Spectre.
Ed Shep, 10 Ocean Parkway, Brooklyn, New York.
There's nothing funny about that.
Yeah, no, I think that's an actual letter.
Damn it.
They got one, and they're like, let's make up others to fill the page. So
Hey, you got to give them credit, though.
That's
I mean,
true.
if nothing else, this thing is freaking entertaining.
Oh, it is, for sure.
And there's so much writing that went into this.
Yes, a lot.
Yeah.
So RX death or prescription death.
Gotcha.
Janet lives with her brother Greg. Greg he just reads all the time. He studies all the time. He doesn't really eat.
He's a bookworm.
Yeah, she gets worried about him. So eventually he gets worse and worse. So he agrees to let the doctor come see him.
Okay.
So the doctor kind of sees him. He's like, hey, here's a prescription for it. Like, go get it filled. This should help him out. Well, Greg doesn't want her to use a fancy pharmacist. He wants to take it to an old chemist that they have in town. So the chemist takes it, makes the drug, and Greg takes it.
So many leaps.
Yeah, Greg takes it. And all of a sudden, after taking it, Greg wants to start going out on the town at night.
Yeah.
So he goes out night after night after night, and he's living it up, and he's having fun.
Yeah.
And like Janet's happy to see this, and then
he gets leprosy.
Well, that's one day. She goes to talk to him, and she notices his little pinky finger.
Oh, it is
kind of all wrinkled up and nasty.
Gross. Yeah.
And she's like, "What's up with that?" And he's like, "I don't know. I must have cut myself or something." And he's like,
I must have cut myself.
Yeah, he covers it up. Well, then
so I got a zombie finger.
Yeah. Then he gets more erratic, kind of. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I'm going to my room. Bring my breakfast up in the morning. And like, he won't let her see him.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she goes back to the doctor and says like, hey, like he's still taking the stuff and he's acting weird now. Like he will only let me like leave his breakfast or leave his food for him. He won't let me talk to him. Yeah.
Kind of thing, sure.
And he's like, this is weird. Let's go see that chemist then.
So the doctor says, no more monkeys. Check it on the bed.
So they go and they see the chemist and he asks the doctor asks the chemist, what did you put in this? And he's like, oh, it's this rare thing I have. And he goes and he smells the chemical and he's like, the label says what it should be, but from the scent, this isn't what it is.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know. Like I've bought it as that and I've had it for however many years.
What the?
So the doctor takes it to send off to somebody to kind of look into
to
it.
a lab.
Yeah, to a lab.
Yeah.
Well, Janet notices that like Greg's arms are now all wrapped in bandages.
Uh-oh.
And he's like, I'm going to have all my meals just sent up. Don't mess with me. Well, she comes up to get something from her room and he comes out at the time and he thinks she's spying on him. And he like freaks out and he's like, don't spy on me. Don't come in here yet. And he won't let her in.
It was meth.
And Janet is like super worried now. So she calls the doctor over.
Yeah.
The doctor comes and goes to look at Greg. And he goes, I've seen him. I've examined him. And in my senses, I've dealt with death all my life, but I've nothing like this. And he runs out the door and he's like, don't send for me again. I can't do anything in this house. She's like, what in the world? So eventually she goes and notices like she's outside doing stuff and notices that this weird kind of like creature pulls back the blinds. So she calls the doctor again, who doesn't want to go, but eventually after her crying, he's like, okay, I'll come and I'll look at it.
Sure.
And he tells her that the chemist I sent the drug to was unable to analyze it.
Uh-oh.
Its chemical composition was unknown to him, although the results of the test showed that it was similar in action to the digestive enzymes in the human body. Your brother is being digested alive.
Oh.
And so all of a sudden they see like this black goo start dripping from the ceiling. Yeah.
So they
it lands on her and they run up to see him. And essentially he's like a mess of like a bubbling pool.
Big goo monster.
And he's like, yeah. And it's like, and so the doctor just beats him with his cane till he dies. I mean, it's said better, but that is what happens.
Wow. Okay.
So
well,
there's that one.
But what could make you do that? Like, is it just like stomach acid? What is it?
I guess it does. It just has the same digestive enzymes that are in humans.
Well, there you go.
So this brings us to our last story, Impending Doom.
Impending Doom.
We see our main character, Ted, here. He's an artist. Yeah. He's drawing stuff and he's just he's singing in his head. So he's thinking about spring and he's just randomly like drawing, doodling this.
This picture reminds me of the, what's the guy's name that you have to pull the magnetic hair onto?
Oh yeah. I know what you're talking about, but I can't think of his name.
That's what it looks like.
So he just like draws this face and he doesn't know why for some reason, but he's like, I wonder why I did that. Man, whatever. He just kind of folds it up.
Pipe.
And he puts it in his pocket and he decides it's too good of a spring day for me to stay cooped up in here. Sure. I'm going to go outside. So he and his pipe.
You got to take your pipe outside every once in a while.
So he and his pipe go outside for a spring walk and he hears this loud banging and he's like, I wonder what it is. And he comes across this sign that says unique stone cutting gravestones, Alex Cordova.
Okay.
Prop, I guess, because Alex is the owner.
Proprietor.
Sure. Thank you. So he walks up and
Alex
he's like,
Cordova.
let me see what he's working on. Oh, this is some nice stuff. And he's like, wait, here lies Theodore J. Warren. That's my name.
Uh-oh.
And he's like, born April 25th, 1920.
That's my birthday.
It is. And today's date is the day I died. And he goes, hey. And you see.
The guy is the one he's been drawing.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, what is happening?
So the gravestone stone cutter has the same face of the face that he drew, and he tells him, hey, what is this? Like, this is my birthday. This is everything. The day I was born. You have me dying today. He's like, I just honestly chose it at random. Like, there's nothing.
Wait, you're just cutting stone on it at random?
Yeah, and he's like, why did you put today's date then? And he's like, because I'm finishing it today. Like, that's just why I put the date there, just to show off my work. Which, yeah, why would you make one? It seems like you're wasting a slab of granite doing that, or whatever it is you're using it. But
right.
So Ted shows him like, this isn't a coincidence. Like, I drew you earlier too for some reason, and
the
he
dude
shows
is
him
so
that picture.
goofy looking too.
He is, and he's like, that's weird. Like, it's the oddest thing. I don't think it's anything. But he's like,
yeah, this is just a coincidence. Sure.
Yeah, and he's like, huh? And he walks up to his door, and his wife answers and goes, Ted. His wife knows Ted already, and he's like, Ellen. Ted and Ellen already know each other.
Uh-oh.
And she tells him like, oh, Alex, her husband. We were friends from way back, right?
Yeah.
You should have Ted should stay a bit so we can catch up and hang out. And Alex was like, okay, sure. So after dinner, I just want to read some of this because I found this funny.
Please.
Ted goes, Ellen, that meal was superb. You were truly a culinary genius. I didn't know you were such a good cook. It's very nice of him to compliment her.
Great bologna
Ellen
sandwich.
says, I'm happy to cook for you, Ted. You always were appreciative of my talents. And Alex kind of cuts her an evil look.
Uh-oh.
And Alex says, Ellen, please, you're embarrassing our guest.
Uh-oh.
And Ellen says, oh, keep quiet, you nincompoop.
Nincompoop.
I don't know why I even bothered to answer you. You're so stupid.
Oh, my God.
Right.
Wow, Ellen.
And,
Pull it back
and
some.
Alex goes, now, Ellen, let's not argue. We have company, remember?
Yeah.
And Ellen goes, I said, shut up. Why can't you be nice like Ted?
Dear Lord.
Here for a change. Honestly, I don't know whatever possessed me to marry a fool like you.
I don't know how those two got together.
I don't either.
Because he, looks like William Shakespeare.
Yeah.
And she's like this gorgeous little, young girl.
Yeah.
And he makes gravestones.
And he goes, now see here, I've had about all I can take. And Ellen says, look at you, a miserable wretch. You'll never be anything but what you are, a dumb gravestone cutter. Ted's a success. He has money. He's young, handsome, exciting. You're none of those things.
Oh, wow.
The dude is just getting dressed down in his own house by his wife, seemingly out of nowhere. Just because, like, her old boyfriend, because they call themselves friends, but, obviously,
Sure.
her old boyfriend shows up. So he's like, I've had enough of this.
Ted.
Yeah.
And his pipe.
He's like, I've had enough of this. I'm going out to my shop to work on some things. And she's like, go ahead. Run, you spineless simpleton. For all I care, you can go out and never come back.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. So Alex leaves.
Poor William Shakespeare.
And Ellen's just like, oh, he aggravates me so much. I can't stand him, especially since I've met you again, Teddy. She calls him Teddy, too. And he's like, Ellen, we shouldn't. You're married. And she's like, come on, kiss me. Kiss me. And he's like, no, we shouldn't.
Kiss me with your pipe mouth.
There's one. Oh, where is it? I'm crazy. I was crazy to marry Alex. This was just so weird. I've known all along that it was you I wanted, and you want me too. I can see it in your eyes. It's not too late. We can still be together. Kiss me, Ted. Kiss me hard. Oh, man. So.
Kiss me, Ted.
So they do kiss. And Alex walks in.
The forbidden kiss.
And Alex walks in super angry, right? With his mallet.
I just want to set this up. Zach is covering up 3 panels so that I can't see them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So Alex busts back in.
Yeah. With his Hitler mustache
hammer,
and
then it shows
William
the cops escorting him out. And one of the guys says, what happened? And another bystander says, Alex Cordova just killed some guy. Caught him with Miss Cordova. Beat him to a pulp. And then we see him at the noose.
Oh, That was quick.
Which, if you'll realize,
we are promised a speedy trial.
Well, if you'll realize,
oh shoot, yeah, he was drawing like the rope around him. Oh wow!
And then we see Ted's gravestone, which is the actual gravestone that he made that he's using with that picture by it.
Oh sure.
And that is the end.
That happens. Things happen.
There you go.
Oh, Muscle Man.
All around He-Man. Fast, or it won't cost you
wonderful.
a cent.
So this is the classic ad.
Does that say Rex Fetish? Rex Ferris, my bad.
This is the classic ad where the guy comes up and kicks sand in the guy's face and all that stuff. Yeah. Yep. Wow. These are, here's the thing. I mean, it's easy to make fun of this.
Yeah.
But
it's still great.
You just gotta give it to them. I mean, it's beautiful art. It's okay writing. I can see how kids would be enthralled by this. Yeah. It's really good. This is cool, man.
No, so I thought it was a great thing for us to go ahead and do.
You think I could still get a copy of How to Become a Muscular He-Man?
Maybe. You can probably find it online.
Sure. You have to send it to the Jowett Institute of Physical Culture.
Physical culture?
Physical culture, yeah.
All right.
George F. Jowett, champion of champions.
Oh, he is our champion of champions.
He's always our champion.
George F. Jowett?
George F. Jowett, yeah.
And then you got, 19 cents picture?
Sensational offer, only 19 cents from your favorite snapshot, photograph, or negative. What? So they just duplicate a photo?
Yeah, it just makes a big photo for you.
Oh, new silk finish enlargement, ivory gold tooled frame.
Ooh,
only 19 cents.
Fancy.
Look at that frame. That's like what you.
That's such a corny. It's such a corny frame now. Yeah. It probably was paper too.
I love this.
Yeah. So there you go. That is our issue this week.
However, I don't like the fact that the people on the cover are not the people that are in the comic.
That is true too.
That is not William Shakespeare.
That kind of looks like Ted a little bit.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, that does not look like Alex at all.
This is us, right?
No, we had red hair.
Yeah, but it's the only one in a trench coat.
That's true, but it says no, it can't be. That name.
That's not. Yeah, that's not. Yeah. Where's his pipe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there you go.
I love this. I thought this was fantastic, Zach. Thank you. Thank you for introducing me to Strange Tales from the Crypt. And I love the story that goes behind it with the seal and the comic.
It's just a lot of cool things, and comics histories kind of evolve around EC Comics.
Yeah.
And William Gaines and the Senate testimony, and just it's just, I think, a part of comics history that's really interesting.
I was very proud of myself for remembering the William Gaines thing.
Yeah, no, that is solid, because I had to double check that too when you brought it up. I forgot. He also did it to kind of keep Harvey Kurtzman, who I think was one of his editors and artists at the time too.
Yeah.
That's why he also made Mad, a magazine, to kind of keep him on too.
Wow.
But yeah, no, a lot of cool things there. As always, feel free to find us on Instagram, BroFoHero.
Yep.
Email us, brosfoesandheroes@gmail.com. Also, RogueMediaNetwork.com.
RogueMediaNetwork.com.
And check out one of the many great other podcasts we have in our family of podcasts.
Yeah, lots of stuff there.
So if you're like, I wonder if there's a podcast that is for me, I can tell you, go ahead and check them out. There probably is one.
I think you were reaching for a specific one, but then you couldn't come up with one.
Well, no. I have one, but then I'm like, the one I thought at first is the Long Box, but I'm like, if you listen to us, you might already listen to the Long Box.
Long Box is great because they're more serious about comics. They're
and
artists.
If you've listened to us, we are not serious.
We are. No.
But we know why you come here. It's just for the camaraderie between Mike and
Thanks for coming, guys.
And the great stories. Yeah.
Hey, and happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Yeah. Don't get in trouble. Don't egg people. Toilet paper's fine.
Yeah, that's easier to clean up. No, eggs stink.
They do stink.
Yeah, I just they do. There you go. Eggs stink.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween, everybody. And until next time, stay safe.
Got a gun.
Frozen heroes. Gonna tell you about frozen heroes. Gonna tell you about.
This has been a Rogue Media podcast.